take 3. It keeps kicking out the recording, so I'm not sure what's going on, but I'm going to try this one more time. I'm working to pick up where I left off yesterday, talking about my dad. And what happened after he was exposed. So, while he was in the mental institution, he ended up hooked up with some psychotherapist, and they were able to, through behavioral patterns, determine that my father is actually a product of incest between his mother and his grandfather. And in the meantime, this is getting difficult because this is like I've already gone over this twice, and I'm remembering what I've said and what I haven't said. And it's determined, there was a relationship between my grandmother and her father that probably went back into childhood because my great-grandmother died when my grandmother was like 8 years old. And then it's hard to say what happened to granddad because they were out in the middle of a farm. These guys, my granddad grew up in the middle of nowhere on a farm. 13 brothers, the youngest, so who knows what happened there. My dad was going through extreme sleep deprivation at the time, working around the clock. I'm not making excuses. We look for reasons in order to change behaviors. But I know for myself, I was up for 2 days once. I wasn't high on drugs or anything. I was cleaning an apartment and I wanted my whole deposit back. And I got it. But after 2 days, I was starting to hear things. So I can only imagine what my dad dealt with, not getting any sleep and working that hard. Because he was at school from 8 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon. And then from there, he would leave and go paint houses until anywhere from midnight. There were times he was rolling in the driveway at 6 in the morning. But that's what he was looking for, is for reasons. Is how did he go so wrong, and how did he get so fucked up? Where did it come from? So we can keep it from happening again, right? So really the legacy that my father left me was, it's not how big the bomb is that you drop. It's what you do in the fallout that matters. Because we all fuck up. And in reality, I think every religion kind of puts us all in the same plane field, We're all fucked up. But I'll tell you what, I'll never molest my children. Never did molest my children. The buck stops here with me and my sisters. We broke this generational curse. But my father was the one that really made it possible, because if he hadn't taken responsibility, if he'd have killed himself, this story would have turned out completely different. And that's what makes my story different. That's what makes my story different. Is that my dad took responsibility. He sat down with me and explained to me exactly what he did in clinical terms, how it had affected me, how it was going to affect me, and he did everything he could to equip me with the tools to heal. From self-help books that he purchased from used bookstores that he loved to haunt, family newsletters, hours and hours on the phone. He figured it was, at the time we were still paying outrageous, he had $800 and $900 phone bills, and he figured it was cheaper than therapy. But my father honestly did spend the last 10 years of his life doing everything he could that he knew of to fix what he fucked. And he earned my respect. Because I went through a period of time where I hated him. It's like, you motherfucker, fuck you. Die. Betrayed. And he gave me that space. So that's what I want to share, is that ability to heal. To show you what he showed me, to teach you what he taught me. My father was a natural teacher, he loved to teach. But he also loved to learn. And in the end, you could talk to him literally about anything. And there are sometimes I said, Dad, I think this, that, or the other, blah, 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 about him. And he'd say, let me think about that. I'll get back with you. And he would. He'd think about it. And he'd get back with me and he'd give me his honest feedback. I think you're right. Or, I see where you're coming from, but I think it's more this. But he was never offended. He showed us peace. Because even though my father was never quite comfortable in his skin, he at least found somewhat peace before he passed. I'd even walk me down the aisle when I got married. The marriage failed. I got my gorgeous daughter out of it. But my dad walked me down the aisle and swung me around the dance floor. My father, he did to kind of clear the way, because he didn't care if you stepped on your toes. He didn't care if he swooped you and ran into you. He didn't care. The dance floor was his, and he was a fantastic dancer. I miss him.